Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ONESREADY podcast. Aaron's head down on his phone like he's a JTAC walking around looking at his ATAC. No idea, just doing the JTAC walk. And
I'm
that's
trying
how
to get
you
the
steal the
article.
intro.
I'm trying to get the article that we were going to talk about, and you're over here you're being a real poo-poo. We need to start this over again, Jared.
No, we're not starting over again because I want to talk about modern athlete strength systems.
Heck yeah! What's up, Mass?
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Mass using True Heroic app to get your daily kind of coaching and programming. You can log on there. You can start and stop your session. So if like you get interrupted because of, the first sergeant calls you because somebody messed up, had a DUI or something like that in the middle of your workout, and then you got to go address that. You can come back to your workout later. It's okay. It's all good. It'll
There's
be
a lot of
okay.
feelings in there. That's really specific.
Yeah.
Who
How was
are
your
we
week,
targeting?
We're not targeting anybody. I'm not
Who are you
saying that I've
targeting
ever-
this ad to?
I'm not saying that I've
Military
never-
commanders?
Guys, I'm going to WIC. Definitely won't get a DUI. Jared's like, you're getting a DUI.
You're getting a
I've
DUI.
never been never been in the middle of a workout and you receive a phone call because somebody got in trouble. Never ever happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can check out their warfighter programming. Like I said, you get the programming. It tells you every day and forecasts what you're going to end up doing, and then if you have questions because you need to substitute a movement or you need to substitute an exercise or something like that, there are coaches on there and there's other athletes on there that can tell you, hey, I did this, or you could try this to help you get some of the coaching. So, and our promo code ONESREADY doesn't only work for the programming, it works for the programming and anything else that they have on their website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Do coaches just tell you to stop being a sissy? If you're like, I can't do this one, they're like, well,
I mean,
then you suck.
That's
that's
really
some good coaching.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure they're fantastic coaches and they're going to walk you through it and make sure that you become as fit as possible, with the limitations that you have so that you can do whatever you want in the future and be healthy, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. So it's modernathletestrength.com is their website. Promo code ONESREADY, get yourself a discount. And then you can also, if you're doing that, you can check out some of the compression gear that DefendUSA.com has, DFNDUSA.com. They've got all kinds of recovery stuff and, action while you're doing things, especially if you're going to do the Trump dance. I mean, that's, yeah, I can't even.
A lot of movement there. Neither can he. That's why everybody loves it, because it's the easiest thing in the world to do. It really has brought America together with a dance that everyone can do.
A single dance. As soon as an athlete starts, you see the celly come in, and when you see just wind, he's like, you're like, Dr. Trump dance. The fact that John Jones did it after absolutely starching Stipe Miocic in the ring, and then put the belt to the president. Damn, roof came off that place. Fantastic. Go over to DefendUSA.com. Get yourself some stuff. I'm a fan of the infrared sleep gear. I'm a fan of the recovery line. You can go check out. They have a whole line of firefighter stuff too. Like if you guys want to actually be better at your job and you're a first responder, go check it out. It's awesome. They got tactical gear. They got sleepwear. They got like technical stuff. They got socks. Top. Oh, that waffle. That quarter zip waffle top. The one that Trent has on right now. That is every single one of our significant others has been like, that's our top now.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a socialist household.
That is our top. Our top. Peaches, let's talk about standards. Why are standards important to you?
Man, you're gonna hit me with that right off the bat. Okay,
I am gonna hit you right off the bat, and I'm gonna key this up, right? So thanks to our boy Adam Dorito. Adam posted this on his Instagram today, and he tagged a couple of us. We're gonna talk about it. So Peaches, we're gonna talk about standards. Now, I know that we've talked about how fat these Gen Zs are, and what's our normal answer to these Gen Z, Gen Alpha, fat little kids that cannot get into the military simply because they won't work out? Is it we should lower the standards, or is it you should be better?
You should be better. You should not lower the standards.
Why would you ever say that? Why would you ever say keep the standards where they are and maybe the people should get themselves together? Why would you say that?
Because, and I'll go back to the thing that I always say, because the enemy is not. Can't believe you just put that picture, that article up. That's awesome. Golly, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. There you go. Because the real world is not going to discriminate against you, whether you're in shape, out of shape, your cultural background, your race, gender, it doesn't matter. The world is going to treat you the exact same. So is the enemy. The enemy is going to treat you well, they're probably not going to treat you the same, actually. If you're of certain types of people, like, there are other cultures that really don't like what you're about. Maybe they don't appreciate your sexuality, your race, your gender. So you might actually get treated worse.
Whoa.
But
America is the most racist and sexist country on the planet. I've been told this, Jared.
Do you guys want to start this one over? I feel like we're already way down a rabbit hole here. No, we're good.
We're good. Standards are important, and that's why, because the world, the real world, the environment, the enemy does not discriminate against you. When you're, doing a freaking 4K over the horizon water infill, and that does not matter. It doesn't matter. The water is going to treat you the exact same.
Right.
Well, maybe you're a little bit more buoyant, but So
there was a quote in CrossFit that I liked when I was questionably zesty and doing CrossFit is that you can't scale weight. You can't scale your life. You know what I mean? Like there would always be like these options for scaling the workout. It'd be like, well, if you can't do 195 or 135, you can do 95 and blah, 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 blah. You can't scale life, everybody. The rucksack weighs as much as the rucksack weighs. The parachute weighs as much as the parachute weighs. You do not get to scale that. So when we start talking about, this is the most disgusting article of all time. So first of all, LinkedIn is a cesspool of idiots that talk. I don't even know how it is you figure out how to talk the way that people talk on LinkedIn. Like when people make a post on LinkedIn, it's like this specific sentence structure and all this other dumb stuff that they do. And it's so disingenuous. It's the dumbest thing. If you've ever gotten a job off of LinkedIn, tight, hit me up. That's ridiculous.
I've heard a lot of people will, but I mean, that's,
oh my God, I hate it.
People do, whether it's just LinkedIn or whether it's your MySpace or your Facebook or your Instagram or your Twitter.
How old are you?
It's almost like I purposely injected that. You don't
How
think people
old
are
are
like,
you?
We all had a friend at least. At least everyone had a friend.
Everybody had Tom.
Yeah.
But you don't think people are going to check out your TikTok? Of course they are.
Yeah. Anyway, so on LinkedIn today, shout out to our boy Adam Dorito. So he sent this article and he tagged us because sometimes he sees things that also make him mad, and then he wants to make us mad too. So we saw this morning. Okay. First and foremost, I want to get this out there. So the article is the U.S. military has met its match, the Fat Gen Zero. I'm going to bottom line up front it for everybody. This guy, let's see, Lieutenant Colonel retired Ryan Sweezy is an Air Force pilot, retired. And I don't know why he says retired Air Force, United States Air Force Academy. Maybe that's where he works. He also works over at the Walk the Talk Foundation, which is a military whistleblower foundation. I don't know anything about this foundation. I'm just telling you where he works. I'm not even going to say anything sarcastically about it, except for the lady that posted this, COO Francesca Graham. You put Jumpmaster on your LinkedIn profile. If you're not a free fall Jumpmaster, you're just a leg anyway. I don't care. I said what I said. It's not that freaking hard to fall out of a plane. The Army can make any truck fall out of a plane on a static line. Okay, so you're just a leg. Take Jumpmaster out of your freaking profile. Nobody cares. I'm a static line jump master. Okay, I can also do 100 double unders in a row. Nobody cares. Take it off your LinkedIn.
I'm going to go update my LinkedIn profile right now.
Oh my God, I'm a jump. Imagine that being part, like that is some sort of accomplishment. You're a COO. You work at a foundation. No, oh my goodness.
Can I that real quick?
Oh God damn it, Peaches. Yeah, fine. Go ahead.
She doesn't have her pronouns in her bio, so
don't care. Oh my God, don't care.
Jumpmaster is a pronoun.
It is a pronoun. You'll refer to my pronouns are Jumpmaster. All right, so let's get into this article. So Ryan Sweezy, retired Air Force, Lieutenant Colonel type. So you made it to 05. Congratulations. You didn't get a DUI, and you were able to not fuck one of your subordinates for long enough in order to make it to 05, which is 100% promotion rate. Congratulations. So this guy goes on to say that we have a fat problem in the United States, which we do. And he literally poo-poos this. He's like, number one, don't fight this scenario. I learned this at Red Flag. And he proceeds to talk about how we have to accept the fact that about 23% of the given population even qualify for military service at this point. So he puts 3 points out here. America's youth is not fit. America's youth will likely continue to be less fit. America's military must be manned. This is a no-fail mission. Number 1 is a fact. Number 2 is an assumption that he thinks is a fact. And number 3 is that it's a must-man, no-fail mission. Let's talk about Make America Healthy again, Trent. Let's talk about Robert Kennedy and the problem plaguing the American food industry. And let's put that in the context of number 2. Why do you think that America's youth will likely continue to be less fit is bullshit?
Because we don't know, right? And then there's a pushback every time. The pendulum swings both ways. And everybody like wants to be like, oh, well, we're just going to continue on the path that we're on. No, this is a pendulum thing. And we see it, right? We're on social media. We talk to these young folks. We talk to all kinds of people. And it seems like the young people look at what's happening ahead of them because they're not stupid, despite what we all think and make fun of them for. They see all these overweight people. They see all the problems that they're having. They see how it affects the economy. They see that they can't do the things that they want to do. And the fitness thing is coming back and the health thing is coming back. Like the reality of the situation, like they're not being told anymore. Like they don't believe that the food pyramid is a real thing the way it was. They don't believe that sugar is a low fat option and that, animal fat is the worst thing ever. So the pendulum is swinging back the other way. So it's this guy assuming that it's just going to get worse is kind of like, that's kind of he's saying that he thinks that people are dumb enough to keep going down a path of destruction despite the evidence slapping them in the face. So that's a little demeaning towards the people that you're talking to there, Lieutenant Colonel.
Retired.
Well,
say it right. Go ahead, Jared. Defend him, you piece of shit.
No. I'm going to say most people are going to pick the easy way out. So instead of, like, to his point here, and I've been reading it, but to his point and Trent's point about people, the military training people how to exercise, we have been doing that. Okay, we've been doing that for a very long time, and people are always going to take the easy way out. They're always going to. How many soldiers and airmen and guardians and sailors are on Ozempic now?
Oh yeah, it's more than one. I'll tell you that much. I guarantee it's more than it's more than an X percentage population.
Yes,
I guarantee.
And you think that's healthy?
Did we really teach them how to work out?
Did we though?
No. Okay.
Did we though?
Sure. We don't have POTIF or strength coaches at every unit or basic training. No, we don't. So I mean that's a valid point. But people are always going to opt for the easy way out. Yeah,
I agree. So as we continue here, so it's not rocket surgery. A military is changing. Some of the things that he does here: become a better author. Lieutenant Colonel Sweezy, you don't need to put that many parentheses in your thing. It's starting to annoy me. There's like 7 parenthetical statements in here. So he gets to the meat and potatoes of this article. When I get into the Air Force, no one asked me how I could fly a plane. When the Army enlists, no one asked how to shoot because we're going to train you. And then this is the part that kind of makes me mad. I don't like when people that write articles do this. He said, with that being said, is it really that much of a calamity to have lower standards for enlisting, parentheses, insert indignant gasp here? Yeah, it actually is. That's actually a huge problem. It's a huge problem that you think that lowering standards is going to be a way to fix our problem. It's a huge problem for you to poke fun at such a topic of that. Now, again, I'm not like protecting and white knighting for higher standards all the time. I'm not clutching my pearls over this, but this is the problem. This is the statement like hard men make easy times make weak men make hard times. Bro, you're the weak man that's making hard times right now, because you're seriously sitting here and you're going, okay, well, Gen Z is fat. You know what we ought to do? We're just going to lower the standards. And then he actually supports, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. He makes a really weak analogy to like eyesight requirements.
Is so bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's literally, it's a weak analogy. It's a terrible equivocation. It's really not helpful in any way, right? You're justifying some stupid crap that you're saying. The problem is when people are like, oh yeah, okay, well, here are the facts of the matter. Gen Z is pretty fat. They're not going to get any fatter or any fitter. They're actually going to get more fat as we go. And we still got to fight these wars. So just lower the standards, get everybody in. We already have, Jared, how much do we spend, the DOD, every year on fat enlisted people?
Oh shit. It was over $1 billion.
It was over $1 billion that we spent through the healthcare,
I don't
through
remember
training,
what exactly it was, but it was over $1 billion.
all of this stuff. And the fact that he just like so flippantly is like, gasp, oh, we're going to lower the standards, indignant gasp. Yeah, you're fucking right, indignant gasp here, Ryan Sweezy, because you have never done anything that would require, like, first of all, like, tell me you don't talk to these kids without telling me you don't talk to these kids.
Well, and it's not even about the kids. So here's one or two examples that are no kidding. This happened 2 weeks ago. So at the weapons school, we notoriously have a higher standard than the rest of the rest of the Air Force comes to the weapons school to get better, right? So we've got everybody: intel, pilots, cyber, space, JTACs, like whatever. And we had to remove 2 pilots for 2 different things, because we have seen that across all of the specialties, but especially with pilots, we have seen some of them show up to weapons school with lacking a baseline standards. And by baseline standards, to give you 2 examples, one is one pilot could not figure out how to fire a Hellfire on azimuth within the final attack heading. Kind of a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
And to what we would think is kind of simple, because, during all the GWAT deployments, stuff like that, we were doing it all the time. And it is relatively simple, and that should be a very easy baseline for a pilot to be able to do. But this pilot could not do it, and multiple instructional times, and he showed up with that deficit. And we accepted him knowing that, and it didn't work out, so we had to remove him. Another
Is
pilot,
he any good at aerial skydancing? Do you think there's maybe a spot for him in the choir of the Air Force?
No.
Nope.
Oh. Because they have you want to talk about a high standard. The Thunderbirds have a really high standard. They have tryouts, much like some of our units. They have tryouts and assessment and selections. Another pilot we removed, he ran his, because he didn't have that many landings and takeoffs, on landing, he ran his plane off of the runway. Because,
tight.
Yes. So, yes, standards matter. We can't just we just can't lower standards to get people in.
Well, and it's my favorite thing.
Planes.
I guarantee Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Sweezy at some point has been the guy, has been the commander, has been the supervisor, has been the OIC of something, where he sat some E3 down and talked about how you do anything is how you do everything. And now that he's retired and apparently working at the Air Force Academy, his answer is like, listen, the core values and stuff, pretty antiquated. Let's go ahead and get rid of those, because they're really having barriers to getting people in the door. And again, this guy doesn't sound like he has any clue about scout, recruit, develop. He doesn't sound like he has any clue about what's actually going on the streets. He's just saying these things. So to the highlighted portion here, he brings up his U.S. Air Force Academy in 1995. So if he got in 95, he graduated in 99. So then that means he's lieutenant colonel retired. So he probably retired in like 2018 to 2020 period. You basically had to be able to see through walls to be PQ pilot qualified. Fast forward 3 years and a major pilot shortage later, and the Academy Commandant was nearly ordering people to go to pilot training with all sorts of waivers and relaxed standards being tossed out like candy. And despite all these concessions, guess what happened? People went to pilot training and excelled. And they had been... as they had been all those years before. No jets falling out of the sky or post-LASIK eyeballs exploding or any other manifestations from the gloom and doom predictions from the naysayers. What a dumb comment. What a word salad piece of crap that you just wrote down and then you attached your name to and then you put it out as if it was truth. That is nonsense. Like to say that, oh, well, nothing bad happened because we had a pilot shortage and we decided to relax some standards. And look, nothing bad happened. Oh, really? I remember pilots dropping on friendlies in that time. I remember several accidents of pilot malfeasance at that time. I remember a whole bunch of stuff going on. The fact that he goes on to say in the next freaking article, which,
hold on a second. Wait.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Peaches. Sorry.
Pause.
I think there's a difference between standards, like as we're talking about them in terms of quality, right, versus eyesight. standards.
Which is why it's such a bad analogy. Which is
It's
why it's
terrible
such a bad analogy.
I just want to clarify, like, because I agree that our vision requirements are too stringent. I agree that hey, you took this medication when you were 5 because you were misdiagnosed with ADHD or something like that.
Someone told you had ADHD one time at a doctor's appointment. Now MHS Genesis won't let you get in, right?
Because your teacher couldn't teach and control you because you're a boy and you have no reason to be sitting for 8 hours a day when you're 7 years old.
Right.
They put you on medication. Like, you should still be allowed to serve. So those kind of standards, I think, should be removed or adjusted.
Right.
Standards I think that we care about are the quality.
Well, so, and he is either purposely or he's just not smart enough. He's confusing standards and requirements. Requirements are what you need to get in a job. Like, you're required to have this vision. You're required to have this ASVAB score. You're required to have depth perception or color blindness, right? Those are requirements. When we say standards for the job, we mean different things. So I don't know if he's just not smart enough to know the difference between the two, or if he's purposely trying to misconstrue them or be obtuse or whatever. But that paragraph to me makes me so freaking upset at this entire thing. Like, the entire idea behind this article to say that you want to change, hey, listen, yeah, man, people are going to be fat. People aren't going to be able to run a mile and a half in 15 minutes. So you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to we're going to lower that standard. Okay. That the standard is a mile and a half in 15 minutes. And that's not a real standard. Everybody in the comments, calm down. It was a one-off comment, not a dick. Don't take it so hard. But the standard to run that, like, for him to just be like, well, no, people are fat, they can't run that. Like, it feels like Idiocracy. It feels like the movie Idiocracy.
Jared, let me ask, when you send these pilots back for not meeting the standard, what do you think, and what have you seen happen at units where people go to a school, they don't meet the minimum standards, and then they get sent back? What is the typical reaction of a squadron, once something like that happens? A performing squadron.
A high performing squadron, man, that I think within our community, because I can't speak for the pilot community, but within our community, I think it goes like, dude, what the fuck, man? What happened? Like, one is, tell me what happened. And then usually word also will kind of get around as well. Like, if you come back and you go, I got fucked by the instructors, I did it. And they're like, all right, dude, come on.
I love it.
But generally, we will, like, if you failed static line JM, or especially if you went to Fort Benning versus Pope,
which was, by the way, way harder. I can tell you 100 way harder. I don't even though I think that if you're a static line jump master, you were still a leg. I went to Fort Benning. I went to the hardest, the absolute hardest place that you could go is Fort Benning, and I still smoked it. You know why? Because I'm not a piece of shit that puts jump master on my LinkedIn profile. Because I'm a free fall jump master, and we're actually good at it.
I see today.
But it's a good example, right? Like, when guys are coming back, if we have a couple failures at jump master, everybody gets together and they're like, okay, well, where did you fail, right? And then we implement.
And then what do? You set a new standard. You're like, hey guys, we're not meeting the standard.
Our preparation for all the folks that are going after that, because we don't want our unit or our career field or any of those other things to be embarrassed by not meeting the standard. We increase our level of pre-training training, right? Before we send people out the door. We have like a little selection before we will send anybody anywhere, because we're not going to send you if you're just going to fail and make us look stupid.
Yep.
And so that's how it works.
Now, what if I took you all the way back? There was this course, Jared and I went through it. What was it called? Oh yeah, INDOC. So what INDOC used to do is they used to actually train you for the dive school standards, because you used to have to go to CDQC, and the Army would fail you out because the young Air Force dudes that were cocky and in better shape than all the Army guys would go there, and then the Army dudes would get super pissed off about them. So you know what we did? We set the standard so that you did, like, what if I told you that the Army standard for push-ups was right around 70 push-ups at CDQC for your initial fitness test? What was that standard back at INDOC? Oh yeah, it was 70 push-ups. And then 75 sit-ups, and then 13 pull-ups, and then all the run times, everything that we did was to set you up to go to dive school so that you didn't fail out. Now, it's a little bit different now because you can quit and pre-dive and still continue. So that's a little bit wacky to be talking about. But the point is that you set the standard so that you can actually achieve a goal in the end. And when you start talking about, oh, we're going to take the standards down, and again, not the requirements. The requirement is you have to have X eyesight, whatever, for inclusion. We're talking completely different things.
Yep.
Moving on, we've got the highlighted portion here, which is stupid. We just talked about that. So now we go from bad to worse here. So here we go from bad to worse. So now this guy's contention, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Sweezy, his contention goes from, okay, well, we're going to lower the standards because we have to accept that people are getting fat. They're getting fatter. They're not going to get any fatter. And we have to have people in the military. So we're going to lower the standards. That's his whole point of this article. So now he goes on to say that you're more likely to get raped or sexually assaulted or kill yourself than you are to go to war. And that's the point that he's using to support.
Are we only talking about the academy now, or are we talking about the general military?
Boy, that's sad. That's sad and that's funny. Yeah,
I'm trying to like connect it in my mind. Like,
yeah. Let me just read this direct quote. Whether or not you go to war while in the service, you're statistically more likely to be raped or assaulted if you were a woman. And if you do enter into service, over 17 of you will, during or after your career, kill yourself each day. And after that, what's the military sales pitch to you? You need to run faster in order to be considered worthy.
Oh my God.
What are we trying to say, bro? Bro, what are we trying? Who thought that this was a good idea to connect your name to? Are
those linked? Like, are those sourced? Did he say those?
Yeah, I got them. Yeah, I'll open these up in a different window. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can do this, and I'll figure it out and I'll pull them up.
Wow.
Right. I just don't even understand what to say to that. So you're so all these, in your eyes, the military is offering you the privilege of perhaps going to war and being killed and or maimed and or traumatized. Furthermore, the military is enticing you to forfeit some of your rights as an American. Boy, that's just wrong. That is 100% incorrect. And that's a remarkable misunderstanding about what it is that we have rights as a citizen.
You signed on the dotted line. You gave up your rights.
No, really? You most certainly did not.
Did we?
Did we though?
Maybe as an officer and a commander, maybe he actually thinks that. Maybe
Good God.
That's his perception of, while he was a lieutenant colonel, that all your junior officers and your junior enlisted gave up their rights.
All right, Jared. So he's linking one of the suicide. He's linking to an 88-page document. It's the National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report from 2023, and the other one, it's a military sexual assault fact sheet from the Protect Our Defenders Foundation.
I wonder if that fact sheet talks about all the false accusations too.
I don't know. Or how about
I'd hate for that to come to light. All the false accusations that come up.
I'd hate to bring up the fact that he works at the Air Force Academy, which has a 20-year history of sweeping sexual assaults under the rug and then not talking about it because, again, it's this. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's funny to see like a retired 05 or someone that is associated at least with the Air Force Academy disassociate themselves from these problems and say things like the military.
Right.
It's like, bro. Like, this is if you are not at least creating this problem, you are complicit at the very least of these things happening within whatever organization you came from or are still working for. And so don't make it sound like it's not part of your personal problem or your personal responsibility there, retired lieutenant colonel. Like, as an 05, you definitely oversaw some things, and based on your leadership and the way that you did things, you were complicit in some of this stuff happening.
Yeah.
So don't disassociate yourself and be like, well, this is the military's problem. No, bro, this is a you problem as well. So like, don't act like oh, I'm a retired guy and I did all these things. I was a pilot and I'm very proud of that. And then it's like, but the military, like, no, you especially as an officer that was an 05, you're also part of the problem.
Right. Well, good for us. He came up with an answer. Like, he fixed the military recruiting process pretty much at the bottom of this article. So can you guys guess what are the two things he came up with to fix the recruiting process? Because he takes like 3 paragraphs here to go, okay, we're getting smoked. And then he was like, Here's a great, hilarious example here. If the military paid an E1 $10 million a year, how many fat Gen Zs would get into shape? Is it unrealistic to think that many would? And although the salary is absurd, it serves to convey this point. There's an extrinsic value that everyone places on most everything, and entering the military is most definitely included in that calculus. So in all this discussion about recruiting woes and fitness and whatnot, how many times have we heard a military senior leader go to the Hill and lobby for higher wages for enlistees? And I'm not talking, and again, parentheses, unneeded, bud. Who taught you how to write? And I'm not talking about piddly shit raises that can't keep that can't even keep pace with inflation. I mean, like actual raises. Okay, so he says that we're losing. He says that the recruiting crisis is going terribly. He says that it's not the fault of the Gen Zs and they don't need to take any of the onus upon themselves. We don't need to help guide, mentor, or lead these folks.
Obfuscate responsibility and ownership.
100%. Yeah, don't take ownership. Listen, this is a military problem. This is my favorite one too, and it speaks to Trent, like him being like, he's being like super flippant about stuff to make sure that we know like he's not a regular lieutenant colonel. He's a cool lieutenant colonel. He's like, I chuckled the other day when I read the Navy put out a pamphlet on how kids who have not yet enlisted can prepare for passing their PT test. Cool product, seaman. Problem is, it's not that they don't want to run, that they don't want to join. Again, parentheses, unneeded, Sweezy. I do feel sorry, however, for that SAP 04 staffer that missed his kid's recital because he had to stay late to put that pamphlet together, ... I'm sure some 08 took the credit, though. What are you? Are you in high school?
Dude, Trent's fire.
Go ahead, Trent. Go ahead. How is that helpful? So we're recruiting incorrectly, and then he's not just any lieutenant colonel. He's a cool lieutenant colonel.
Yeah, there's nothing like saying that there's a problem and then being like, okay, the Navy is they're working towards solutions, whether or not I think the pamphlet is a good idea or not.
Right.
But it's like you have a subsection of your population that may or may not be in better shape than the regular population, right? Like as a whole, right? Or the Navy. But they're like, hey guys, like if we're getting a lot of questions, like how do I start working out? What's step 1? What's step 0? You know, what's the basis of the ONESREADY podcast? What's the first step to getting in shape to get into the military? Like, here's a pamphlet for a workout program, just like we've put out with our prep program and all of this stuff. So this guy's like, oh, they don't have solutions, and this is a problem, blah, blah, blah. Also, your pamphlet is stupid. My solution is to lower standards. Like, get bent, you narcissistic piece of shit.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious to me. Like, and again, like, I think it's more like the self-licking ice cream cone for LinkedIn. Like, this guy really thought he was doing something. Putting this article out. Like, people are he really thought he was like, oh, this is it, man. I've dug down to the bottom. I found the baseline problem for this. So we haven't gotten to his solutions yet. Like, he was like, okay, well, here he tries to define the problem, right? So Gen Z is fat. They're not getting fitter. We have to put people into the military, and that's not going to change. And there you go. So now he's saying that people don't want to join. That's why people don't want to run or get in shape. They don't want to join. I don't know. I talk to a couple thousand of these kids every month. Every month I talk to at least thousands of kids that are getting ready to join. They 100% want to join. But you know what? They're kind of behind the 8 ball because they grew up in a time of iPads and screens, and they grew up with parents who weren't necessarily so involved in their lives that they had that basis of fitness that went out and ran and grew up at gyms. Yes, Trent?
Wait, is this guy part of that generation of parents that...
He certainly, well, if he has children, I can't tell. He didn't put any pronouns in his bio, so I don't know if he is a they, them.
Seems like a lot of focus on the kids and not a lot of focus on the people that created the problem.
The kids, right. And then there's people like us that go, hey, yeah, I'm not saying we're the world's best parents because I'm not saying that.
No, I'm definitely not.
No, but I'll tell you what, my son grew up in a gym. My daughter goes to yoga. They understand how important physical fitness is just for their own lives so that they're healthy individuals. They don't eat like crap. You can go to their BMI right now. My son is the 17th strongest under 17 weightlifter in the country. He won nationals, or he won his local regional meets and then went to nationals. I'm not saying that that's because of anything that I've done. His mom is a great Olympic lifting coach and the dude is a freaking stud. But I'll tell you what, I got a 9-month-old. If you think that he is going to be out of shape, you're insane. You are insane. And the fact that he's taking 0, if these are his kid. Like the fact that he's like, oh, sorry for that sap 04. Bro, you were the sap 04. Like you were that fucking dork ADO that was working somewhere that probably did more projects like the one that you wrote here, which is, if I'm grading this fella, it's not going to be good for you. So anyway, let's not mince words. Let's not mince words here, says Lieutenant Colonel retired Ryan Sweezy. The recruiting crisis is a conflict that our military is waging and losing. It's the easiest conflict we can and ever will fight, for we all have the intel at our fingertips. Bro, you just flamed a piece of that intel at your fingertips. You literally, oh, we have the oh, really? Like the Navy put out that manual? Didn't you just make fun of that manual?
Maybe because it wasn't his idea, and anything that's not his, we've never seen that before. Where if it's not your idea, it's terrible.
It's stupid.
That's not something that's culturally, lives within the officer corps.
Have you experienced that, Trent? Have you this podcast? Just curious.
You know what?
Have you been flamed by an 06 for this?
You know what?
Once or twice, yeah.
You know what we ought to do? We ought to ask this guy how much you should bench, squat, and deadlift before you get into the military. I'm sure he's got some really good insight, and then open him up to the comment section, which will give him cancer. Let's go. So there is no fog of war. There's no unpredictable adversary, and yet we are still pretty much getting our asses kicked. But I don't accept that. I hope you don't either. Our military's sulk in the corner response, quibbing about fat kids, the economy, or BRAC, all the while yamming about how they aren't getting promoted fast enough. So again, he's not just any lieutenant colonel. He's a cool lieutenant colonel. And he says that the military just bitching about having fat kids isn't a great response. And again, I just want to make sure that everybody understands the point of this guy's article is to say that the answer is to lower standards. The answer is just be like, well, you're fat. Okay, cool. We're just going to accept it. We should accept that you're fat. Okay, cool.
I wonder if he did any of this while he was active duty, because
absolutely not.
When you start talking, like, you can't really affect that much change as a retiree, but as an active duty dude, you can impact your inner circles and your close circles and your unit and your section, and then it can start to grow. But you got to be vocal about it.
I wonder if this guy, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Sweezy, let me just, let me Google this dude, because I want to see if he's got a picture. I would love to see his picture.
I wonder if one of his kids is having a hard time getting into the military.
Right. Well, I mean, he's a published author. Well, he seems to look pretty good. He's got a square jaw. He seems like he's in shape a little bit.
Here's the thing, though. Like, and I don't want to keep going after this guy. So he did identify a problem, right? And there's certain things that he got right. It is fun that he makes fun of people that are trying to get promoted and complaining. Like we also complain about the complainers that don't do anything. Right. So this guy is just like a lot of other people out there. He can identify certain problems. It's just that through his experience and his multi-step analysis, he just did everything wrong and reached the exact opposite conclusion that he should have.
Right.
But this guy probably had good intentions. It's just he thinks that we have to have the same numbers in the military that we have right now. Like all these incorrect conclusions along the way. And this guy probably cares a lot about the Air Force and the military. And so I don't want to make it sound like he doesn't. It's just like, bro, like you need a little more education in this space before releasing an article like this, and also get rid of parentheses. Maybe go to AATC and take a tech writer principal class.
He's a decent looking dude. He's not a fatty, you know what I mean? Like he himself, you're right. He's square jawed. He reminds me of is that big time motivational speaker,
Tony Robbins.
Yep,
he does look like Tony Robbins a little bit. Yeah. So and listen, like the article's a miss for me. He may be a good dude. He may be doing good things, and the conclusions that he gets to. So we haven't gotten to the conclusions here. The two conclusions that he gets to. Trent, do you know what two conclusions he came to in order to fix our recruiting process? So he fixed the 1,000-word article talking about fat kids in the military. He fixes the recruiting. The war doesn't require a McChrystal-like spaghetti chart to grasp. It's pretty straightforward, and here's the solution to it all. There's 2 points. Can you come up with one of them?
Lower standards, pay him more. I don't know. Is that what he
pretty on point here, bud. Number one, compensate your people well. He thinks if you pay more people, they will get in. Lowering standards, I assume, is a thing that he wants to do because that's the whole point of his article is lowering standards. But number 2, treat them and their families well.
Well, that's going in. You should
I'd
treat members and their families well. Like,
yeah, but how does that fix fat Gen Zs?
No,
The point of the article is fat
I
Gen
know, I
Zs
know.
and recruiting.
Well, I think he's saying, so this is another one of those things that we've run into before, right? Where like the money thing is a big deal for some people. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a big deal, but it's like, well, if you compensated them better, that would lead to more people wanting to join the military that would meet the standards or whatever standard was set forth by this guy.
Right.
And then they would be willing to do what we're asking them to do. But that just doesn't really jive. No matter how much you pay someone to put their life on the line, it doesn't make a lot of sense. We have volunteer firefighters in every state in the country. Like a ton of the firefighters, they're going to show up to do anything. What percentage of those guys are usually volunteers? You know, especially in rural areas, it's a bunch of them. And so you're telling me that the money fixes this kind of problem for these types of jobs? Like, I'm not saying it would hurt. But it's not the end all be all solution.
Right. Yeah. I just like how much, so how much do you pay them? How much do you pay to get a whole generation of people to care? When you say treat them and their families well, what do you mean? Like that came out that the conclusion for this, and again, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Sweezy, you probably meant well. You probably thought you were doing something. I hope you don't take my pointed making fun of you, like mockery and shaming out in this public forum. I don't think you're a bad guy. It looks like you might live in Vegas or somewhere in Nevada. Come on over. We'll have a beer. I'll mock you to your face because this is a terrible article and it's a huge miss for me. And you decided to put it out in the public space. So therefore you deserve critique of your ideas, which I think are bad. What do you mean treat them and their families well? What? How?
Jared, families. Jared,
how do you treat families well?
I don't know.
Like,
how does that help recruiting? That's the thing is like he comes up with these two things, like compensate them, treat their families well. That's gonna fix the recruiting crisis right away. Because he said it was super easy. 2 points. Steel man it for me, Jared. You're good at this.
I'll tell you right now that the pay, although it would be nice to receive more pay, we have found that it does not, like, it kind of helps, but it doesn't move the needle as much. Now, you know, if you took it away, I don't know what that would do, you know, for retention. I don't know that it would necessarily help recruitment. It might hurt retention a little bit, but yes, pay us more, but still, I don't see how that's going to help recruiting. I don't see how that might help retention.
Does it? How are those pilot bonuses working out?
Well,
we saw a pilot shortage, do we not?
Yeah, there is a pilot shortage right now. We have
crazy.
more planes than we do pilots.
Like all tenure pilots that meet the bare minimum standard to retire or to get out after they've done all their pilot stuff, and they're all in TAPS classes. They're full of pilots.
Right. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of wild to me. I can't imagine flying fighter jets or A-10s or anything like that and then going to an airline, which happens a lot. And I'm not poo-pooing it. It's just like, man.
Because it's a culture problem. It's a structural problem that we have in the Air Force. It's because we don't let pilots fly anymore because we've inserted so much bullcrap into everything. We don't get them enough seat time. We don't prioritize these things. We expect them to become, you know, squadron commanders, even if they don't want to be. So, well, this is the track. This is the only way you can go. And it is stupid. The fact that we don't have warrant officers that can fly, the fact that you can't maintain an O3 paycheck or whatever forever and just fly if you want to, it's ridiculous. And that's the problem with the pilots. It's not the money thing. If it was a money thing, they would all stay in, right? Like, because they're throwing gobs of money at these people. But no one wants a $150,000 bonus to sit behind a desk to not fly, to deal with, you know, the other guys that are all complaining about they're not getting enough seat time as well, and then competing for it.
And then they're worried about getting school because that'll impact their promotion and then their next assignment and all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine, like, some of the best pilots are sitting at 05, 06 because they've had so much seat time over the years. But can you imagine if you could take a captain or a major and go, hey, this is your track. There's not a leadership track. You're just going to get to fly for the rest of your career. How amazing would those pilots be?
You
I
could
mean,
fix this right now by saying pilots don't run the Air Force anymore. There's no reason that the CSAF and all the high leadership positions need to be pilots.
Nope.
Like they should be like high level advisors to everybody running the Air Force. But are you
Sure.
telling me that that person is going to run the Air Force better than a logistics 4-star general?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, but we're pilots, so we run the Air Force. No, you spend half of your career not knowing anything about the Air Force other than how to fly a plane, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's cool, and flight training is hard or whatever. But there's nothing about flying a plane that makes you a better like leader or organizational manager.
There's
yeah,
not.
but I would push back on letting maintenance run the Air Force.
Why?
And the
Can
reason
you imagine
why
the parties we would have? The dining
would
out
have-
would
we
be
would have-
amazing if
we
we had a
would have-
maintainer
and
4-star.
it's
So much saliva on the windows.
it's and the reason why, and I'm not saying one way or the other, right? I'm just saying that like maintenance and for all my maintainers out here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You guys follow TOs to the T, and you
Sure.
can't deviate from TOs. You were crushing people, giving them Article 15s for a missing wrench. A missing wrench, and I get it. It's important because that wrench might be in the engine, right? So it's important, right? But the fact that like there are some stories that I have heard from the maintenance, you know, because I have an equal group within the wing that's the maintenance group, and some of the stories I hear about things that have gone, disciplinary things that have gone on for things that I would be like, hey, dude, don't do that again. Like, think better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, wow. Imagine like the folks at AFPC running the Air Force.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, that's just like you know, being a pilot doesn't make you a better commander, doesn't make you better to run the Air Force. Being a maintainer doesn't make you worse for it either. We should be sourcing talent and not actually look like
And
two stories. Yeah, wild source talent, right? You know, two stories about the pilot thing. So I have a really good friend. She's a lieutenant colonel in the Guard. She flies for one of the airlines on her off time. And then flies, you know, heavies for the Air Force. She is married to a fighter pilot. We had this and the fighter pilot is like further back in his career than she is, right? Like she got in before he did, and then he ended up getting in and being a fighter pilot. Blah 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 blah. Long story short, we had this exact same conversation. All he wants to do is fly. He wants to be a flight leader. He wants to be a 4-ship commander. He doesn't want to command a squadron. He wants to fly fighter jets and go kill people and break their shit. That's the point. That's why we have pilots. And the fact that we don't have, and Trent, great idea on the track thing. I completely agree with you. I think I said this exact same thing. I think I probably used the same words. If you don't want, and I always said this about PJs, you know, being a team leader, we force everybody into this 5-level and 7-level upgrade. And for the longest time, like to be a 7-level, you had to be a jump master and a team leader, a free fall jump master, not a bullshit static line jump master, a free fall jump master and a team leader, and have all these other things. And you were forced to be a flight chief and you're forced to do all these other things. Why? Those are leadership and skill positions. We should be sourcing talent for the people that want to have those positions, that want to lead in that capacity. The fact that, you know, my career specifically was hampered by the fact that I was really open to people about, I don't want to play your fucking politics games. I don't want to sit in a group and talk about a problem and never solve the problem, and then go out to dinner later and talk about the problem more and never solve the problem more and think you're actually doing something. I never desired to do that. And the fact that we don't have a track where people can just be tactical or technical experts and have that be good enough is one of the big problems with the Air Force. You see it with pilots, you see it with ground operators. Like there should be the walking warrant in the team room that your, you know, team sergeant that isn't going to be your Stanival guy. He isn't going to be your op soup. He isn't going to try to fleet up. Now, if you want to do that, and there's plenty of careerists out there that want to do the wing chief game or that want to play those games, then they should be allowed. Like if you want to go do those things and lead in that capacity, there should be a track for you, but they should be separate tracks. If you want to be a good pilot and all you want to do is fly, let him fly, man. The best helicopter pilot I ever worked for, he's retired now, so his name is Hump. Hump worked out here. He had a crazy story. Humphrey, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jay, it wasn't his call sign. It was his last name. It was Jay Hump. But anyway, so he notoriously had a terrible story, right? He was going to get out of the Air Force. He was going to go do this whole other life. He had a huge personal shakeup that happened, and it led him to stay in the Air Force, but he had already turned down his slot to go to SOS. You can't turn that slot down. People were like, hey, man, Yeah, they're like, hey, you can only turn the slot down one time. So it basically made him a forever captain. He would never promote past. He ended up serving like another 15 years at captain. Best helicopter pilot ever. Because
He's
you know
probably so
why?
happy.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, it was amazing. He just worked, and they were like, well, we're gonna make you the ADO. He's like, bro,
I wouldn't
you
do
can't
that.
make me the DL. I'm a captain.
I
He
got
was
two of
like,
these
yeah,
bad boys.
sorry, man. He's like, I'm just gonna go fly. That guy was the best Air Force rescue pilot that I have ever worked with. You know why? Because he just flew. He just flew.
Yeah.
He just flew the aircraft, and he was awesome at it. And there should be room for guys like that. There should be room for guys that don't want to leave the aircraft cockpit, like the 160th. I can't believe that we are a flying organization and we don't use the model that the most professional flyers in the United States military use. Like we're just like, oh, the 160th has warrant officers. Cool, we're not going to do that.
Cool story.
Cool story, bro. Oh, by the way, every single one of their pilots on Green Platoon is better than our best pilots that we have flying helicopters. And we're like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to force these guys out of the cockpit.
That's dumb.
That's dumb. Mid-grade captain. We're going to force them out of the pilot so they can go work at Fort Rucker. And then, be general dorks on the internet and think that they're doing something. What's up, Tanner? You fucking dork.
But dude, you're on one today.
I don't care. It's just one of those. It's so frustrating, man, to look at these things and just to have people think that they're really doing something or really being smart about it. And they're like, oh, the answer is so simple. You just got to pay your people and treat their families well. You didn't say anything. Well, right there.
The thing is it's not like, if you're really going to go down to that problem with obesity and the pool that we're actually recruiting from, it's not a simple problem. It's not a simple problem, just like suicide. It's just the Air Force leadership and DoD leadership need to fix the suicide problem. Okay, what policy, what program is going to fix the suicide problem? It's just like the obesity problem. Okay,
right?
Like, yeah, it's not just that simple, and everybody is motivated by different things. And then I just had this conversation last week because we receive a lot of feedback from leadership within the Air Force when a wing commander submits their applicant to come to the weapons school. They get rack and stacked, and then we take them on or we don't, right? And then commanders get upset, wing commanders get upset, and communities get upset whenever their person doesn't pass or their person is removed because they didn't meet the standards. And we receive, just like Special Warfare Training Wing receives this question a lot, and our communities receive this question a lot. We get like, well, your standards are too high, or maybe you need to look at your standard. I'm not even kidding, dude. Last week we had this, and this is the Space Force commander that I was talking about. Her and I were talking about it, and she's like, man, they are giving me the business right now because they want our throughput to be increased because they like the product that they're getting, but they want more of it. But we're holding a standard, and she is holding a standard and booting people out whenever they don't meet that standard. So it's like, dude, you don't want somebody who's not meeting a standard, that can't keep a certain standard, out there doing business for the U.S. Air Force or the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, I have a question that I'm going to pose to like Air Force leadership, and then when I want to get back to something else. The question is: are we focusing on production, or are we focusing on capability? Like, are we building a group of people, or are we building a capability? Because those are two very different things.
There's these things as soft truths.
Always gets confused, right? But that's just a point. Otherwise, I want, before we wrap up here, I don't want to be like this guy and just complain and then have like the exact wrong conclusion. So, Aaron, I want to ask you, for the obesity thing, like, what are some of the solutions? What are some of the ways that we would and are trying to get after this?
At what level? So tactical, strategic, or operational?
One's ready level.
One's ready level. So one's ready level, first and foremost, we're going to lead by example. You're not going to see a bunch of fatties here. You're going to see us on the Whoop group. You're going to see us putting out. You're going to see us being open and honest and transparent and authentic about what it is that you're going to need to do in there. And we're going to give you hard truths.
You'll see Aaron doing that.
And we're going to give you the hard truths about what it is that you're going to need, because we're not lowering the standard for you. We're going to keep, and we hold a higher standard for people here on the podcast or people that interact with us. And even some of our peers do. Even some of our recruiters are like, wow, you guys really, give it to these kids a whole lot. And we 100% do. We tell you, hey, you're not running fast enough. You're eating like crap. You're getting the information out there. You're giving somebody to actually provide guidance and mentorship. And we're talking about real things. There's no amount of money that we're going to give you to compensate you appropriately for this job. There's no amount of treating your families well we're going to give to you that's going to make you get up and get off the couch. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you, like, you're messing up and you're going to fail and you're going to quit unless you go do this. And you actually engage with these people. You know what we're not doing? We're not writing articles and just publishing them on LinkedIn. That's not what it is that we're doing. So number one is we're bringing on people that, Taylor Starch, that understand nutrition. We're partnering with people like DFND and partnering with people that actually give it with mass to, partner with people that actually are trying to provide you a fitness baseline to make you understand that the standards are the standards for a reason. And it is your job to meet the standards. It's not our job to lower the standard to get to where you are. You have to raise the floor of the organization at which you work in order for them to be able to reach the standard. You can't
people want to be part of an organization that holds standards. People want to be part of an organization that is considered elite.
They do.
Even we have some amazing special warfare mission support folks. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. Those people crush it. And
they don't know a lot of times they don't know what they're getting into, especially if they're just out of tech school, which I don't really recommend people coming to an SD unit or rescue unit straight out of tech school, because you're going to ruin them for the rest of their career. But
it actually might be okay because they don't have to unlearn the real way to do stuff before they get there. Because we're going to be like, no. Like, you got 10 minutes.
Sure.
Make it happen.
But like, they're incredible and they enjoy and want to be part of an elite organization. Like, so I know that we say there's Make America Great Again, right? Maybe make the Air Force elite again. I don't know what that comes out to, but
Mafia, make the Air Force elite again. I like it. We'll workshop it. We'll workshop it. You're thinking and talking at the same time. That's tough to do. Yeah, but you have to get people the information. You have to be willing to engage with these people, and you have to be willing to hold a standard. I'd say that's what we do here on the podcast more than anything else. Is number one, you have to live up to the standard yourself. You can go and check out our Whoop strain at any time you want. Go over to the Whoop group. We all, Trent doesn't wear one because he's just contrarian by nature.
Because the NSA exists.
Sure. Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Sure, I was going to say, the podcast probably isn't helping, bud. But I mean, you can go look, you can see how many workouts we're doing. Like, it's not bullshit. Like, feel free, have fun. Come on and challenge us in the Whoop group. We can show you what that is, because even now we understand that there has to be a high standard that we have to be able to hold in order to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. If it is a no-fail mission, and I agree with Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Sweezy, retired, on this point, it is a no-fail mission that we have people in the military. But I will also argue that I will take quality over quantity 100% of the time. And if I take that 2% of the 23% that actually qualify for military service, and I'm able to influence them in such a way that I can get them into the military, into the job that they want to do, and that they can hold a high standard, well, then I've just influenced 2% of the people to get in and change an entire generation of folks inside the Air Force. That's what we're doing here. Is we're actually guiding and mentoring people right now, not speaking to retired people on LinkedIn about it.
Well, let me ask you guys, you talk about like raising standards or getting people to where they need to be. And just as an example, right? Because I lived through it. Like, from y'all's perspective, like, what was the standard for Saudi when you guys first got on team? Like, what did that look like in comparison to combat control and pararescue? Like, honestly.
I mean, there was definitely a division. I mean, even though we had Saudi guys in the team room, whatever, like they definitely were like, redheaded stepchild, whatever. And they're just like, every career field has good dudes and bad dudes. You know what I mean? Like, I can think of, did you know O'Rourke?
Yeah.
That dude, he was a monster.
Seamus is a monster.
Absolute monster. And he was great at his job too. So yeah, we would make fun of him because we'd be like, yeah, you're weather. But he wasn't, there were a couple other weather dudes that we made fun of him, and they just kind of like leaned into the fact that they were just kind of like the whipping boys. They were never in that good a shape. They really weren't that great at their job. You know, and it was personality dependent. But then, you know, when you got not only did Seamus actually know how to call weather, but he was a monster. And I went through the Krav instructor course with him, and that guy was a monster. That guy was an absolute beast.
But just I bring it up to make the point, like when I first got on to be Sauti, right, it was kind of whatever it was, and then like we had guys that had failed AST, and it wasn't that big of a deal, right? But like when I went, the advice was, well, don't be last at anything. Like you can't be last. Like they were trying to like up the standard of Sauti and standardize a little bit, and then we got the pipeline, right? And it got to the point where I was telling guys when they went up to the combat control schoolhouse, like you better be like top 3 in everything, because I had you here for 8 months and you guys should be monsters, right? And then we get to the point, and you can think about what special reconnaissance, whatever you want to think about it, but now it's become like we took it from a thing that the standards weren't that high, and based on this article, like we should have only gotten worse, right? Because the talent coming in the front door should have only gotten worse. No, we raised the standard, and today I think more people want to be special reconnaissance than they want to be special operations weather, because it's that much harder, because we have these standards that are way higher than they were before across the board, right? And so like when you raise standards, you actually increase, you know, the interest level, the number of people that want to do this. When you talk about the Thunderbirds, and as much as we make fun of them, yeah, they show what is possible with that aircraft. And if you're going to inspire the future pilots that you're going to let fly for like, you know, 10 minutes out of their career before you make them sit behind a desk, like that's what gets them in the door, is seeing what's possible, seeing that there's these like regular type people that can do these almost impossible things. And that's where you hold the standard. You hold the standard, and that's what you're going to get, that capability, and not necessarily all the production that you think that you want.
Right. And if you look at it now, how many gray hats have taken honor graduate out of CCS?
A few.
A few. It's not like every time, but I'll tell you what, it's been a bunch. You know, to have, you know, say whatever you want about special reconnaissance and weather and, you know, whatever. Well, they're winning the top award out of combat control school. Yeah. Oh, I will. Oh, the only reason I'm letting you slide is because you actually went to Indoc. If it was any other combat controller that was talking shit, I would just be like, hold your breath for 2 seconds, you fucking dork. Non-Indoc hacking motherfucker. How about that for your standards? Sorry. Man, it's been a good one. It's been a good one today.
Should we invite Sweezy onto the podcast? Because that would just be, because we have to, right? It's an open door policy. He's never going to reach out. But hey, bro.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Flesh out your ideas here. It'd be a good time.
It would be a good time.
I'm sure I know somebody who knows him.
I'm positive, yeah. And I do want to say, like, yeah, nice. I do want to say, like, I won't apologize for the way that I talk or the way that I come off, and I am adversarial by nature. But man, the article was a miss. I think that we have some really bad ideas. I am open to taking feedback. You can call and tell me I'm a piece of shit, or like, you know, the rescue pilot, you can challenge me to a fight. I accept out of hand. First of all, just right away. Well, it's a yes for me.
People don't really know about it anyway, because that was members only, and you told me that episode, because you talked about some other stuff. That episode was not good for a sneak peek release on audio either. So
no, it's not.
If you want to know about that story, you got to become a member and then catch up.
Yeah, it's a good one. Catalog. That fucking guy.
That was crazy.
Well, maybe he'll come into town. I don't know. Anyway, head over to ONESREADY.com. Check out our merch. Check out Attacklead while you're over there too. You can get everything that you need to train for the pipeline, so that you can meet the standards that we hold. Because Attacklead, their gear is the standard. It is what is used in the pipeline. No promo code required. Thanks for joining. We're out.
Okay, bye.
Just don't raise the high standards.
Okay, bye.